Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Write with Neethus. This is me, Hannah Keshaji. So, in this live, we're going to have a look at Task 1 line graph. So, let's talk about writing. Writing is one of the toughest modules for many students. Students often complain saying they're not able to finish writing the essay on time, they're not able to finish writing the task one on time, or even if they are finishing it on time, they're not getting the score they want. So students have so many complaints connected with writing. Though reading is also another tough module for them. The reading used to be not that tough for students, but nowadays students are complaining about reading as well. So I always tell my students this. So when you improve your speaking by speaking in English, you improve your writing by writing, and you can improve your speaking also by listening. But your speaking is not going to improve if you're going to just keep reading. You can improve your writing from reading. I hope it's clear. I hope I didn't confuse you. What I was trying to tell you is that you can read and you can write, and these two things will definitely improve your writing scores. So how to read, what to read, when to read is also important. So I'll answer these questions. When you're preparing for a test like IELTS, where they expect you to give an academic writing, that is a universal rule, okay? The format you're following in IELTS writing is a universal format. That is a format that you follow when writing a paragraph about any topic, not just the IELTS topic. So you're just following that rule. And when you're writing it, you should be very careful about one thing, that you should not make spelling mistakes, you should not make grammatical errors, because you lose marks for all of that. So we are talking about writing task 2 and 1. So what I'm trying to tell you is you have to read. So what to read? You should read essays. In order to improve your task 2 writing, you must read essays, as many essays as possible. So not just going through essays, it should be more like auditing your answers. For example, if you're reading one sentence, if there is a new word, you will write the meaning of the new word on top of it. And if there is a new phrase that you see there, you will learn it and you will try to use it. You will look at the collocations, you will look at things like that. Collocations are very important, which all words go together. That's very important. That makes your writing a bit more natural and genuine. You know, your essay looks a bit more natural if you do that. So another thing is when to read. So you should read when you're really fresh, right after a nap, or maybe after you go for a walk. So just choose the best time, the time when you can focus really well for reading essays. And then you'll read 10 essays, or maybe like 5 essays, and you will try one of those essays on your own. You will not look at ChatGPT, you will not seek the help of Google, you will do it on your own. And then later you can check ChatGPT or Google, you can make corrections here and there. But initially when you write, you will write it on your own. This is not, so you must be wondering, I'm sure when I write, things would be wrong. So what is the point in writing it first and then changing it? I would say this is not just about getting this answer right or wrong. It's a practice. It is an exercise. You're exercising your brain to think in certain way, to use certain collocations, to use certain phrases and words and vocabulary and stuff like that. So you should always be careful about these things. Okay, and the same thing applies for your task 1 also. Task 1 reports. You should read multiple reports and you should underline the keywords in it, the words they've used, the phrases, the new words. Especially vocabulary is very important in task 1. Academic, I'm talking about academic. Task 1 academic vocabulary is very important, like increase, decrease, um, rise, rose, climbed, different words like that. So you should read different answers to get different types of words for it. Just select 5 or 6 of them by hearted and try writing a report using those words. So you have line graph, bar graph, pie chart, table, different types of questions. And I've told you before that line graph, bar graph, pie chart, and table, these four things are the same. Okay, the report writing and the method in which you have to do the writing is the same. The only difference is that this data is given in different form. So you can use this vocabulary you've learned for report writing of bar chart or line graph. For other you can use the same vocabulary, the vocabulary that you have learned for bar chart or line chart, for all of it: bar chart, line chart, pie chart, table, etc. Another important thing that you should be careful about is spelling mistakes. Some students make mistakes with some words like accommodation, university, some words. There are certain words that are difficult for some students. So you have to look for which all words are difficult for you. You have to write it 5 times or 10 times and learn it. And when you write the essay at the next time, you should make sure that you have corrected that mistake and you have written it correctly. That is very important. And when it comes to grammar, it's very important that you have a thorough knowledge of simple present tense, present continuous tense, and also the different ways to write complex sentences. Learning how to write complex sentences is easy, but actually writing a complex sentence is going to be difficult. So if you don't know the proper way of writing complex sentences, don't attempt it. Only if you have mastered it, I would recommend that you try it. If you haven't mastered how to write complex sentences, then I would say it's better that you don't try it, because you will lose marks for your grammar, and you don't want that to happen. And also, if it affects the main idea, then you will also lose marks for task achievement. And when it comes to the general training letters, again, you should read as many letters as possible. I wouldn't say the quantity is important, but the quality of time you spend with each letter is very important, to look for collocations, phrases, new vocabulary, and the style and the way in which it is written, how they have developed ideas. For example, I feel I have general task one a bit tough, because you have to create a story of your own. They might ask you certain things about certain things of which you'll have to use your imagination. So I find it a bit difficult. But I don't know if it's the same for every student, or for all the students. Some of my students have said the same, that it is a bit difficult because we have to use our imagination. That is there. Besides that, that is totally fine, because you, in informal letter, you get to use the informal language. You can use contractions, so those things actually make things a bit easier for some students, but it is still difficult for some other students. So you should read it, you should look at the style, you should write and practice. How do you write and practice? You'll read 5 letters. You will learn the way in which it is written. You will take one particular type of letter. If it is formal, you will take 5 formal letters in different ways it is written. You will do that. And also you can, if it is one question, you can ask ChatGPT to write it in different ways, so that you can read the different ways of writing the same answer, answering the different ways of answering the same question. And from there, you have to underline collocations, phrases, vocabulary, the style. You have to understand the style of writing and try one on your own. And nowadays, when you have ChatGPT, you can make use of it. You can ask it to correct it and tell you a score, so you'll be able to know which all places you're making mistakes. So you should do it at least one letter a day if you are preparing for IELTS general. You should do one task for if you're preparing for IELTS academic. So this is all about the practice, the preparation, what you have to do. This is my way of dealing with writing, because I always believe reading improves writing. Also, you have to practice writing. You have to practice writing things on your own. Only then will you improve in that. So that is very important. And always remember, you focus on the 4 assessment criteria. So it is task achievement for task 1, task response for task 2. Okay, and then you have to look for cohesion and coherence. So cohesion, you should make sure that you're using cohesive devices. Coherence, you should ensure that your answer is written in logical order. Then you have to look for grammatical range and accuracy. If you have, make sure that you haven't made any grammatical errors. Then vocabulary, using precise, accurate vocabulary. Using accurate vocabulary is very important. It's not about fancy words. If you have good words, very good, well and good. But it's not just about fancy words. It's about using the accurate words, the right words. You get marks for that. Okay, so that's how you do it. And now coming to a task 1 academic report writing specifically. Task 1 report writing. This is actually a very simple task. All the data, all the information is given to you. You only have to report it. 2 things are very important in this area. One is summarizing. You should summarize. And the other thing is comparisons. Comparisons are very important in task 1 academic. Almost all the questions come with a statement. Summarize and make comparisons where relevant. Almost all the questions come with this. So it's very important that you summarize and compare the information given to you. So for which, what do you have to do, or how do you do it? I'll take a question and show it to you. So I'll show you the question and the answer and the explanation on the screen, and I'll explain it. Okay, I hope you can see the graph on the screen. So now I'll explain it to you. The graph below shows the percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds in universities in 4 different Okay, so the graph below shows a percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds in universities in 4 different countries. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting main features and make comparisons where relevant. This is what I said. They will ask you to compare and summarize. Okay, writing the introduction. How will we do it? First, let's read the question. Let's read the graph. In 1961, slightly over 0% was the number of 18% of 18 to 25-year-olds in universities in Malaysia. Then they've given an information slightly over 5, given information about Philippines, and 15% in Singapore, and 25% in Thailand. So that is the data given to us. Then it has fluctuated. When we're looking at Singapore's, we can see that the graph is fluctuating, and even in case of Thailand it's fluctuating. Philippines and Malaysia, that had an increase, and you can see that all these countries showed an increase in the percentage of 18 to 25 year olds in the universities, okay, with some minor fluctuations in between. That could be a trend. You can use it for overall, okay. So now look at the question and then look at the diagram and try to understand what the data means. For example, from this graph, we understand how many 18 to 25-year-old adults were studying at universities in these countries. Okay. To better understand, speak out one line data. In 1961, 25% of 18 to 25-year-olds in Thailand were enrolled in universities. We did that, okay? If you know, you can say this in some other words. Sorry. If you know, you can say this in some other words. Do it. If not, just add something from the diagram and write the introduction. So first write the introduction. So always remember, for the word percentage, I think I've mentioned in the previous lives, for the word percentage, you can use the word proportion. Synonym, proportion. So the line graph illustrates the percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds enrolled in tertiary education program in the 4 countries from 1961 to 2011. Okay, so we have paraphrased the introduction part. We've paraphrased the question. So the line graph illustrates instead of shows, we have written illustrates. And instead of the percentage, you can write proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds enrolled in tertiary education. Instead of universities, they have used tertiary education programs in 4 countries. If you want, you can write the names of those 4 countries from 1961 to 2011. So let's write the overall sentence. Sentences 2 and 3. So overall, we can say that in all the countries, percentage of students enrolled has increased, except with some fluctuations in between. Okay, so let's see. We'll write 2 sentences. Sentence 2, sentence 1 of the overall. Step 1, find out maximum or highest, which means the line at the top. So we can write the highest, the lowest, the trend, everything. So these things in the overall, but it's just that we should not write the data there. Okay. So the highest here is, for majority of the time, the highest is Singapore. So which means in this case 1961 to 65, highest is Thailand. 1965 to 2011, the highest is Singapore. After 2008, it is Thailand again. It is clear that for majority of the time period, it's Singapore. Understand what the line means. In this case, the line does not represent Thailand, but rather the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds from Thailand. Singapore studying at universities. Write this as your overall sentence. So I told you, you can select and say that majority of the time period, Singapore had the highest percentage. So overall, it can be seen that Singapore had the highest proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds studying at universities for majority of the given time period. Once again, I'll repeat that part. It can be seen that Singapore had the highest proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds studying at universities for majority of the given time period. Okay, it can be seen that Singapore has the highest proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds studying at universities for majority of the time period. Now let's look at sentence 3, sentence 2 of the overall. So now we have to find out the trend. Okay, figure out the trend for all by looking at the initial data and final data. So how will you understand the trend? This is the point you have to learn now. How will you identify a trend, for which you have to look at the starting point and the ending point? So if it is increased, then it has got an increasing trend. If it is decreased, it has got a decreasing trend. Let's look at what is happening here. Figure out the trend for all by looking at the initial data and final data. For example, in this case, Thailand 25, final 40. So let's see, Thailand starting is 25, ending is 40. Okay, increasing trend. Singapore starting is 15, ending is 40 again. Malaysia starting is slightly over 0. Let's call it 2%. Final is 15%. Philippines starting is slightly over 5. Let's call it 7. Final is 20%. So the trend is increasing. So it can be seen that the proportions increased over these years. Okay, with minor fluctuations in between. If you want, you can add that too, then it will become precise. Write this as a sentence 2 of overall. Also, there was an increase in the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds opting for higher education in all the given countries. There was an increase in proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds opting for higher education in all the given countries. I repeat, there was an increase in the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds opting for higher education in all the given countries. So read it on your own, just go through it one more time and see if you're able to understand and if you will be able to write it on your own. Okay. Read the sentence once again. There was an increase in the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds opting for a higher education in all the given countries. Okay, there was an increase in the proportion. Now body paragraph 1. Sentence 4. Data for 1961. So you can give data for 1961 and then summarize the data from 1961 to 1991. Give initial data for every country. Data for 1961. Okay. So 1961, what happened? Try to use contrast word while giving data. While, whereas, by contrast. In 1961, proportion of 18 to 25-year Thais enrolled in universities was 25, and it was followed by Singapore at 15%. So we are explaining the data in 1961. In 1961, a proportion of 18 to 25-year-old Thais enrolled in the universities was 25%, followed by Singapore. So we've given the data of Thai and Singapore. By contrast, the percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds studying in the Philippines and Malaysia was only 7% and 2% respectively. So you're done with one sentence. Now step 3, try to explain the trend till 1991. Here you're summarizing. This is how you summarize the data. And by using the word by contrast, you've compared the data as well. So this is how you compare And this is how you compare and summarize data. So I've shown how to compare. Now we'll look at how to summarize. So now we're going to explain the trend till 1991. So use comparison word while giving trends. From 1961 to 1991, there was a slight decrease in the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds from Thailand studying at universities, while the proportion increased slightly to around 15% for both Malaysia and Philippines. So let's look at in detail one more time. So from 1961 to 1991, there was a slight decrease in the proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds from Thailand. Yes, Thailand has a decrease. Thailand studying at universities, while the proportion of increased slightly to around 15%. Proportion increased for both Philippines, Malaysia and Philippines. So they haven't mentioned Singapore here. In Singapore, yes, Singapore they're mentioning separately. In Singapore, also the proportion rose, but with fluctuations. In proportion rose with fluctuations, and in 1991 about 35% of 18 to 25-year-olds were enrolled in universities. So you've mentioned the trend from 1961 to 1991. In body paragraph 2, now let's look at body paragraph 2. In body paragraph 2, write the trends from 1991 to 2011 and give the data for the year 2011. So sentence 9, write final year data. Write trends from 1991 to 2011. Use comparison words while writing trends. Over the last 2 decades, from 1991 to 2011, the proportion of Singaporean, Filipino and Thai 18 to 25-year-olds went up. So the trend is the proportion of Singaporean, Filipino. So instead of writing Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand every time, and they're writing Thai, Singaporean, Filipino, 18 to 25-year-old went up. So Singapore, Thailand, Philippines went up, whereas the figure in Malaysia remained unchanged. So went up, unchanged. These are the vocabularies that you should be learning. Okay, then write your final year data. Use comparison words when giving data. In 2011, the percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds studying at university stood at around 40%. Okay, in Singapore and Thailand. Okay, in Singapore and Thailand, the percentage of the youth enrolled remained at 40%, whereas or while the figures for Philippines and Thailand was considerably lower at 15% and 10% respectively. So now let's read the whole answer. The line graph illustrates the percentage of 18 to 25-year-olds enrolled in tertiary education programs in 4 countries from 1961 to 2011. Overall, it can be seen that Singapore had the highest proportion of 18 to 25-year-olds studying at universities for majority of the given time period. Also, there was an increase in the proportion of opting for higher education in all the countries. increase in the proportion for all the countries. In 1961, the proportion of 18 to 25-year Thais enrolled in the university was 25. Okay, and it was followed by Singapore at 15%. By contrast, the percentage studying at universities in Philippines and Malaysia was only 7% and 2% respectively. From 1961 to 1991, there was a slight decrease in the proportion from Thailand studying at universities, while the proportion increased slightly to around 15% for both Malaysia and Philippines. In Singapore also, the proportion rose but with fluctuations. And in 1991, about 35% of 18 to 25-year-olds were enrolled in universities. Over the last decades, from 1991 to 2011, the proportion of Singaporean, Filipino, and Thai 18 to 25-year-olds went up, whereas the figure in Malaysia remained unchanged. In 2011, the percentages studying at university stood at 40% in Singapore and Thailand, while the figures for Philippines and Thailand was considerably lower at 15 and 10% respectively. So what was actually done here? First, you were given a question. Step number 1, read the question. So should that be said as a step? Yes. First, you have to read the question that is given in text. There you'll definitely see a statement, summarize and make comparisons where relevant. This will be there in almost all the questions. Then from that question you will paraphrase. So for the words illustrates, you can use shows or elucidates, or you can use any such word. And instead of mentioning the number of the countries, you can mention the names of those countries. Instead of saying from 1961 to 2011, you can mention each decade. So you can do it as per your convenience. Then that is over. After writing this introduction, what you have to do is you have to read the text, the data given to you. How do you read it? You would say in 1961, Singapore had 5%, Malaysia had 4%. So this is how you will read the data. And you will look at the highest, the lowest. So when it's a line graph, the line on the top, that will be the highest, lowest, and you will find the trend, okay, whether it's increasing or decreasing trend. How do you look for trend? You look at the beginning point and the ending point. If at the beginning it's 5 and at the end it is 40, it is called increasing trend. So this is how you do it. Okay, so then you'll get your overall paragraph. So in overall, you're writing the highest, the lowest, trend. So here in this sample, we only wrote highest. So that's more than enough. And also the trend. Okay. So then in body paragraph 1, you have to decide on what basis you're dividing your body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. There should be a criterion on the basis of which you're dividing your answers as body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. In body paragraph 1, what are you going to do? In body paragraph 1, you're going to give the data, the full explanation for first year. And then you will summarize and explain the trend from 1961 to 1991. Then in body paragraph 2, you will explain 1991 to 2011 and also give every detail of 2011. This is how you summarize. And when you're mentioning the detailed data of 1961 and 2011, make sure you use words of comparison. You compare the data. This is what you have to do. I've written it here. Give initial data. Use while, whereas, by contrast. Write the trend. No need to mention everything. Okay, so when you're writing your task one, this is a very important thing that many students, what they do is they list the data, they write everything that's given in the picture, but that's not needed. You only need to summarize and compare. You don't need to give a detailed explanation of all that's written there, because you need to write only a minimum of 150 words. Okay, so that means you don't, and it's not wise to spend a lot of time on task one when you have task two to cover. That is 2/3 of your marks comes from task two. So when you have a task like that, it's not wise to spend a lot of time for task one. So the mark, because the marking is also done like that, 2/3 of your total score comes from task 2, and 1/3 of the marks comes from task 1. So it's not wise to spend a lot of time on task 1 and write an elaborated answer. If you write an elaborate answer, you will not get marks. You need to have only a minimum of 150 words. So you can write an answer of 150 to 180 words. That's enough. That's more than enough. You have to compare, you have to summarize. Comparisons are very important, otherwise your answer would look like you're just listing things. Okay, so I hope it's clear to you. If you have any questions related to this, please feel free to drop it in the comments and I'll definitely answer those questions. So, or if you want me to explain any type of essay or any type of question, you can drop that as well. We'll be covering almost all types of essays and graphs and everything one by one in each week. But if you want something really quick, you can let us know about it. We'll post a live on that. So I hope your preparation is going really well. Prepare well for your exams. Make sure that you read and you write to improve your writing, and you speak and listen to improve your speaking. Listening is actually very easy for everybody. That's what I've heard. When I ask my students when they come for speaking sessions, I ask them which is their favorite module, and they all say listening is their favorite module, and then I ask them their difficult module. It's mostly either of reading, writing, or speaking. So some students come and tell me that speaking is the most difficult module for me, and when I'm taking speaking, so I get really upset. Though I don't show it, I'm a bit upset when they say that, because speaking can't be that tough. So I tell them it is important that they listen to things and also speak on their own to improve their speaking. So same applies for writing. You have to read to improve your writing, and you should also write. So you read 4 essays and you write the 5th essay. Okay, you read 5 reports, you write the 6th report. So that's how it works. So we'll see again in the next live, which will be on next Friday at 5:30 p.m. Till then, bye bye, good night, and take care.